Mr. President.
Senator from New York.
Mr. President, 2 days ago, another victim of the September 11th attacks died in New York. He is the 11th first responder to die since this year's anniversary of the attacks. His name was Sergeant Gerard Bayrod. He served for decades in the New York Police Department. His entire career was devoted to serving his community and keeping the people around him safe. And when we were attacked on September 11, 2001, Sergeant Bayrod didn't waver. He banded together with thousands of first responders from around the country, from every single state, and he rushed to Ground Zero to help. These heroic men and women ran into the burning towers to try to save anyone they could. And when the Twin Towers collapsed, our first responders worked day and night to clear the pile, breathing in toxic, poisonous fumes the entire time. These men and women were heroes. They refused to abandon their community in a time of terrifying confusion and intense grief. But now, because of the poisonous fumes they were exposed to at Ground Zero, the burning metal and the toxic smoke, these men and women are sick. Many of them have cancer, and many are dying. And far too many have already died. Mr. President, more than 14 years later, the terror attacks on September 11, 2001 are still claiming American lives. In the 6 weeks since the most recent anniversary of the attacks, we've lost 11 more responders to diseases that can be traced directly back to the work at Ground Zero. I want to take a moment to actually speak their names now. John P. McKee, Reginald Umthery, Kevin Kelly, Thomas Zayas, Paul McCabe, Ed Goler, Joseph Fugel, Ronald Richards, John Cito, Dennis Needles, and Gerard Bayrod. The death toll is not going to stop rising. So what is Congress waiting for? Mr. President, the bill authorizing funding for the 9/11 program has already expired. It's expired. But these 9/11 related illnesses never expire. Neither should their health care. More than 33,000 first responders and survivors have an illness or injury caused by the 9/11 attacks or their aftermath. More than 1,700 have passed away from 9/11 related illnesses. More police officers have died from 9/11 related diseases than those who died on 9/11 itself. The participants in the 9/11 health program live in every single state. Every senator in this chamber has constituents who are sick and are registered in the 9/11 health program. Mr. President, the first responders we've lost leave behind families, spouses, children. They leave behind bills, mortgages, car payments, and college tuition payments. These 9/11 illnesses not only rob families of their loved ones, but leave them to face expenses without, in some cases, their primary breadwinner. If Congress doesn't act now, how many more first responders and their families are going to suffer because we didn't do our job and reauthorize the program? On the most recent anniversary of the attacks, many of my colleagues here released statements and made posts online to commemorate the anniversary and remember the victims of 9/11. Well, if you're a U.S. Senator and that's all you're doing, if all you're doing is just talking about the heroism, the courage, and what happened on 9/11, then we're not actually doing our jobs. If we are senators and all we're doing is tweeting about 9/11 and the responders, then we're not actually fulfilling our duty as U.S. senators. There's a bill right here, right now, waiting for a vote. The majority of this chamber already supports the bill as co-sponsors. It's widely bipartisan, and not one person is opposed to it. So what are we waiting for? We must reauthorize and make permanent the World Trade Center Health Program, and the Victims' Compensation Fund. We must finish our job. Mr. President, let's truly never forget. Our 9/11 heroes deserve and desperately need this health care. So let's do our job. Let's vote on this bill. Let's pass it. The clock is ticking. I suggest the absence of a quorum.